Welcome to the Ascended Workplace. I'm Adam, co-founder of Ascended Consulting, where we turn generational challenges into leadership wins. And I'm very excited for our episode today on raising workforce-ready students. We're joined today by Maisie Lynch, the founder of Forward Ready U. So Maisie, if you want to tell our listeners a little about what you do.
Sure. During the day, I am a high school teacher. I've been teaching for 20 years. And for the last decade, I've taught a program called College and Career Research and Development. And in that, I help students identify their post-secondary plans and then how to actually build those pathways out and pursue them. And then in my personal life, I have my own business, Forward Ready U, where I do college and career consulting and coaching, basically helping students to be more college and career ready, doing college applications, career counseling, yeah.
So the whole process, seeing them in school and helping them through their application process as well, with
Correct.
the families too.
With the families too, yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
All right, so from where you sit inside a classroom and working with families, what worries you most about how students are being prepared for life after graduation?
I think that what I see the most is students are coming out of school with, they may have gotten the best GPAs because they got good grades, but they get out of school and once that all that structure is gone and all of that support, they kind of don't know what to do with themselves. And they start having difficulty with being able to put in the systems and processes in place that were there that helped them be successful.
So understanding where they're getting the help and looking back on that, is that kind of where you were going with that? I might have missed something.
Well, when you're in a school environment, they've spent the last 13 years being completely structured, right? In school,
right.
Everything is by rubrics and deadlines and all of this. Now you go into college or you go into the workforce and that's not laid out for you. You have to learn how to do that yourself. And so if you have not put some of those executive functioning skills and transferable skills in place when you were in high school, then you're sort of left out,
Right.
to figure it out on your own, and a lot of students start struggling there.
Right, and that's what we see a lot with our Generation Z and the companies we're working with Ascended Consulting. We'll see the same kind of thing, where the executive functioning is holding them back from being as successful as they could be.
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right, so what's the biggest misconception that parents have about what actually sets their child up for success?
I think it's this reliance again on GPAs and test scores and thinking, I hear so many parents talk about their kids' grades. And many times I'm just thinking, okay, but is your kid happy? Does your kid have a community that they're a part of? Are they taking responsibility for who they, for their actions? Those things are going to speak so much more to their success than what they got in a GPA. But there's such a focus on prestige in college and brand name colleges that we lose sight of what's really important.
Okay, so it sounds like you're talking a lot about the high achieving student being the gold standard, but it shouldn't be. So what separates that high achieving student and a truly prepared student?
So especially nowadays where we know that grade inflation has been a big issue.
Yes.
And that's across the country. That's not just a local issue. A student that gets straight A's now, what you needed to do to get those straight A's is very different than what you had to do back when I was a kid and you were a kid more recently, but still.
It happened.
Right. So I think we need to kind of get that notion that good grades equals good kid, well prepared for college, okay, or career. It's that whole skill set. It's all the competencies that we think about when we're talking about the workplace and the transferable skills, what used to be called soft skills, but we're really moving away from that term. But, accountability again, communication, time management, executive functioning skills. Those are all the things that are really going to make a huge difference.
Yeah, so those skills are the ones that are missing most often. Are those skills missing even in the strong students?
Many times, sure.
It
depends how we're defining strong again.
Right,
is
that's
strong
true.
Straight A's? Is strong taking AP classes but getting B's and C's? what is strong. So, but yes, I would say in general, a lot of kids need a lot of support with those skills.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when students are struggling after graduation, what patterns do you see? And it's probably more so those executive functioning skills again, but is there any other patterns that come up?
Yeah, I mean, it's very much, I think the kids have bought into this formula also, right? They're seeing it on TikTok, they're seeing it all over the place,
This
that
is the
if I
pathway.
get good grades, this is the formula.
Right.
I will get out of college and I will get a good job and I'm set. No. I mean, I can't even tell you how many young adults I've worked with recently who have a college degree and couldn't get a job in their field, but then there's this like reluctancy to like go get the job at the grocery store until you are able to get the job in your field. And so
Because it feels like a step back.
it does. It feels
That's what they're
they
feeling.
sort of have this sense of, well, if I got a college degree, I did what I was supposed to do, and now I get the
I
job.
should have this, right?
Correct. And we're not doing them any services, any justice when we don't explain to them like how that really works, right? So I'm sorry, I'm probably moving all around your question, but like you were saying, what are they missing, or what are they? Yeah. So I think it's just the idea that like, you know, it's not just about your grades. It's not just about your that scores on tests. It's the big picture of being able to have the work and study skills, and again, accountability, all of these things. And those are things that you can get working at Giant. Right? Those are not things that you have to be taking AP classes to get.
Yeah. So they're seeing that logical step of, I get the grades, I go to college, I get the job, and then I get
check.
But that's not the only pathway. And
not only is it not the only pathway, but it's not really working right now.
Right. It's not actually it's not actually the logical step that it says it is.
I mean, go ask a group of 20, you know, in any given group of 20-something-year-olds right now, there's a lot of them out there looking for employment, especially in their field, and they're struggling.
Yeah, so the business owners that are listening to this, we're hearing it, the 20-something-year-olds that have the competencies in their field are looking for positions like that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. Yep.
Yes.
I mean, that's
For
huge.
sure. Yeah.
So these parents are definitely caring for these students. They want them to do well. They know that they think there'd be logical steps. We recognize now that logical step is not actually happening. But where are parents unintentionally limiting their child's development?
Oh boy.
I know.
Well, we got to rewind to like, you know,
way
kindergarten.
Back. We're going way
yeah,
back.
We're going way
Send
back.
it back.
I mean, and I speak out of total experience because I am this parent, right? I mean, you know, none of us, we're all winging it. So it's a day by day thing. We're just trying to like figure it out as we go. And then like we raise a kid and we're like, oh my gosh, I figured it out. And then you're like, oh, that's it. I guess I'm done. Now I can't redo that, right? So, I mean, it starts early, certainly with, you know, I remember when my kids were little, they would be on the playground and they'd be like, mommy, come help me. And this was out of sheer laziness, let's be honest. I would sit there and be like, no, you need to try and do it on yourself, by yourself. That's how you learn. But in my mind, I was like, no, I just don't have to get up. But honestly, like, I wasn't wrong, actually. You shouldn't go to the top rung yet because you're not ready for that. You're going to work your way up to that top rung, right? You're going to work your way up to whatever. And I think that actually that was something I did right, even though the reason behind it was not as, you know, but it's those kinds of things. Like, how often are we just jumping in to fix something for our kid? And again, I am like mama bear to the core. Don't mess with my child, right? But through errors and through, you know, trial and error, and honestly raising two girls who are very good at self-advocating, who finally were like, Mom, back off. Then I got it. Okay, yes, you can handle this. You can handle this. So it's, you know, every kid is different and there's no magic. It's not a science, it's an art. And so it's really about like knowing your kid, knowing their strengths, knowing their limitations, helping them really do things that help to embrace those strengths and then helping them work with those limitations and, how can we build that skill set?
Okay.
So, yeah, hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it is great. I love your personal touch with your own 2 kids in this.
Oh yeah, well I haven't.
You have to have the personal touch.
I frequently say that everybody burns the first batch of pancakes, and my oldest daughter does not love that because we all the first batch always gets burned, and then the pot is like at the perfect temperature, and every other batch is perfect.
And it's great after that.
Yeah.
As someone that doesn't have kids yet, I'll keep that in mind.
Well, I mean, I guess that's at some point you just get it perfect.
It happens.
My kids are perfect. Don't get wrong, because I love burnt pancakes.
Coming back to the parents that are advocating for their kids.
Yeah.
How do we make sure that there's a difference for them truly advocating for their child instead of, like you said, rescuing them or going to rescue them, instead of like sitting back and letting them be on the playground and not rescuing them, but letting them struggle with it? What's the difference between advocating and rescuing?
So not helicoptering, basically. Okay. Yeah.
And by helicoptering,
just hovering around and always being on top of everything. Okay. Again, I've been accused of being a helicopter mom many times. Rescuing is, okay, there's an email to be sent to a teacher, let me send it as the parent, right? Rescuing is, there's a phone call that you need to make, whatever, you have to call someone and say that you can't go because blah, blah, blah. You can do that phone call on your own. Mm-hmm. So it's giving, when those opportunities are going to come up in their lives, in their everyday occurrences, all of those little things are how they build that skill set. And I always try to encourage my students to, let themselves get a little bit outside of their comfort zone. Mm-hmm. Just take that baby step outside of your comfort zone, and the next time it's going to be that much easier, right? So I'm married to someone who doesn't like to even call for pizza. Like, he's an introvert, but I've seen over the years the growth with him, even like his own comfort level. And that was because he recognized, I need to do this. Mm-hmm. This is not, so.
I mean, that's a good point. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No,
that's a good
please.
Point. You're saying that ownership is a skill we can learn, no matter how old, no matter what generation.
100%.
But, I mean, that's really what it is, right? It's not just children. It's ownership is a skill for any generation. It can be taught explicitly, and 100%.
No, absolutely. And I've seen it time and time again with adults. I've done a lot of emotional intelligence work, and I've seen it through that process, where people just get themselves just a little teensy weensy out of their comfort zone, and then they go, okay, that wasn't so bad. And then the next time you do it a little more, and then 6 months into it, you go, oh my gosh, you remember when I was scared to call for a pizza? How ridiculous is that, right?
But that skill goes anywhere.
Yeah, and so doing those things, same things with our kids. Like, I don't think that we need to manufacture these opportunities. They exist in their everyday world. And how do we just encourage them to be able to take that step?
Yeah. I mean, I think you answered my next question, which was how do we teach children to be more independent? But it sounds like we answered it. That is the move. It is. We've answered all the questions. That's it. That's it. Yeah. We're doing every question. Right. Okay, so there's having them exposed to different things and trying it and seeing and pushing them a little bit further, right? Mm-hmm. What is the balance? What does that healthy struggle look like?
Well, the healthy struggle is they're going to push back a little bit.
Okay.
Mom, I really don't want to call them. I don't like to, whatever. Okay, well, how can you deal with this then? Can you send a text? Yeah, I guess so. Okay, so this time it's that stepwise. Because sometimes, and we all do this, right? We see the end that we're supposed to get to, but we forget all the steps that go in between. So as long as it's forward, it doesn't matter how big it is. Do you have me? There's something else I thought about, but it'll come back to me. Okay. Hopefully. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll continue.
The healthy struggle is sometimes they need to sit in their bad feelings, and that is really hard for a parent. But what I have noticed about my own kids, and these poor children, I've been talking about them for 20 years in the classroom, and now I'm doing it on the on the interweb.
It's going to be everywhere.
Sorry, girls, I love you, but. It's really hard to watch your child have hard feelings, crying, upset, embarrassed,
Sure.
whatever it is, scared. But what I have found is that when I let them just sit in it a little bit, they get themselves through it. Like, and I understand some kids have much bigger, difficulty with emotional
Sure.
regulation. Definitely there's times where you need mental health professionals to intervene. This is not, but I'm talking about average everyday kid, everyday experiences. You know what? Okay, let them cry.
You can sit that way a little bit, yeah.
Sometimes you just need to cry.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if you see that your kid's not getting out of it, in a couple days or whatever, then obviously some intervention
might be necessary.
But I think they do learn to get themselves, that's how they learn that emotional regulation.
It's a bit of self-soothing.
Yeah,
That's what my
absolutely.
mom used to say. Yeah.
No, totally.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, all right. So if a parent wants their child to stand out in the workforce later, so now we're getting older, they're not just crying about a bad feeling. If they want to stand out in the workforce later, what behaviors should they be building now at home? And you can determine the age that you want to talk about for this question.
I'm going to focus on high school because that's really where I live and breathe high school.
Let's get a little bit older. I like it.
Yeah, so I think the behaviors are all the ones we've already talked about.
Yep.
Okay, first of all, every single kid should be managing a calendar. And I can't even tell you how many kids are not responsible for a calendar.
Yep.
So whether it's a paper calendar, that's in their phone. And then, so like my family, something, whatever it is, whatever it looks like for you, if you need it on paper, it doesn't matter. When I was younger, I always wanted like cool stickers and different color pens and all that.
Whatever
when
way to
I
make
would
it your
write.
own.
Yeah,
to make it
and
your
that's
own.
great too. But like one of the things I think I did really well, and again, I could give you a list of ways that I messed up parenting, but one of the things I did well is when my girls were in high school, and I still have one in high school, one is in college, but we started a family calendar on on our iPhones. And that family calendar, initially it was like so many, oh mom, come on, this is ridiculous, da, 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 da. But now my kids are like, that's not on the calendar, mom. I didn't know about
That's
that.
what they look for.
Yes. And
you scheduled this without putting it on the
correct,
calendar? How
yes.
dare you?
So it was like we got to this point where everybody has their own calendar, and then we all have this shared family calendar, and you have to make these judgments. Okay, do I put this on the family calendar? But this is one way that we communicate.
And it's so workforce driven of understanding what needs to be delegated to which part calendar. Am I needed for this?
Correct.
So very applicable to the workforce.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think another big thing is, teaching your kids what does like accountability and responsibility look like, right?
Yeah.
Because we drop those words all the time, but like, do kids really know what that means?
Right.
So actually giving them, asking, I'm a big fan of asking questions. I've done like a lot of coaching workshops, and I think a lot of times the best way to get a message through, especially to high schoolers, is instead of telling them something, ask them a question. Give them the opportunity to reflect on it. And so you can say like, okay, well, what would taking responsibility right now look like?
Yep. Even with Ascended Consulting, one of our very first steps, if you go through our package, we talk about specifically with the leaders in the organization, what does accountability look like in this particular field, in this job position?
Right.
What does it look like? What behaviors should they be doing? Who should they be reporting to? How should they be reporting to that person? And specifically laying it out, because otherwise everyone thinks they understand what it should be. Even the leaders will say they should just be doing this, but if it's not laid out, it's people guessing, and that's when we get frustration in the workplace. So all these things 100% translate over, and it's so interesting to hear it from the younger perspective, just coming out again right with the organizations.
I'm
too.
younger, or the children are? Which one? Yeah, that's just it. That's just it. It's we make so many assumptions when you have that. We all have our own inner voice.
Yes.
The amount of assumptions we make about so many things
Yes.
and then when you just ask questions, get clarification, it all,
Yeah, it changes. Yeah, for sure. All right. When you see a student who is ahead of their peers in maturity, what are they doing differently? They probably have a calendar.
A calendar. There's a sense of independence.
Okay.
And I think that gives them confidence too. I'm thinking about a lot of my kids who were not on a college-bound track. And those are the kids that literally, when it snows, I call and I'm like, hey, can you come and do my walkway? And they're like, oh yeah, Miss Lynch, I've been out all day, right? So
they're already taking initiative and just whatever's happening, they're using that to be like, what can I do to maximize this?
Yes.
And help the community, help myself, like things. Yeah.
They don't wait for opportunities; they find opportunities on their own.
I love that. We're gonna clip that. They don't.
Okay,
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I would say that's sort of big picture. That's probably one of the best.
Okay.
Yeah.
They don't wait for opportunities; they find them.
Yeah.
And I love it. Even if they're the not college-bound students, the workforce-ready kids are looking for the opportunities. Trying to find jobs.
Yeah. I mean, this is why, again, like grades do not equal. I'm the internship coordinator at my school now. I don't think I mentioned that earlier. And so we had 120 kids apply for internship. I have to interview every single one of them.
That's a lot.
And I have learned that I barely ask them about their grades because how many students...
It's not gonna translate.
Yes. Okay, you have all the best grades in the world, but you know what? You're not showing up to work on time.
Yeah, you're late to school every day.
Right, exactly. So, this is where those skills are really important.
Yeah. How would I put you in front of a professional if you're not?
Correct.
Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
All right. So, what behaviors that maybe those students are bringing or other students are working with predict success more than those grades? What behaviors do it? When you're interviewing them, what are you looking for?
Well, that's a research question.
All right.
Yeah. So we definitely need to pull in some research for that one. So, first of all, success looks different for everybody. So you have to define, what you think of as success. But let's take it from two different perspectives. So Harvard has a study that's been long-term study. It's been going on for, I think, like 85 years. And they have found a correlation between having positive, healthy relationships and lifelong happiness. So to me, lifelong happiness, that's success.
That's the goal.
Right?
Yeah, sure.
So positive relationships, and so that's an important part of building these skills with our kids. That means people who you work with, and when you dissect that, right, how do you make a positive relationship? Communication, responsibility, accountability, all of those things. There's also there is research that links test scores to success, more of what we think of as academic or financial success. However, that's just there's no correlation there. It's you don't know the cause and effect, right? We know that kids who get really good test scores are also kids who are probably more on top of their assignments. They're keeping up with, they're managing their time better. They're waking up early, or they're not staying up late. So the skills that allow you to be a good test taker are also the skills that are going to, correlate to you being successful in life. And so I think, the key is just helping your child, your teen, young adult to really know themselves, reflect, build their emotional intelligence, build out these skills. And as they do that, they're going to be able to define what success looks like for them. And it's not about test scores and
it's not the test scores, no.
Especially not in today's, great. I have literally had college admissions counselors tell me that they don't even consider dual enrollment to be necessarily rigorous anymore. Because of when you're talking about dual enrollment, you're talking about classes in the community college.
Right.
And again, you're back to grades are subjective. Now, AP classes, they do consider that because they have the standard across the board that they can compare it to. But it's college counselors know that grades are inflated and and
they recognize that.
Yes, absolutely.
So putting all your eggs in that basket is going to be a road to disappointment.
Correct.
Almost always. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how important, we talked about this, but this is our big thing. How important is accountability? How are parents teaching it without constantly lecturing their kids?
Right. Yeah.
How do you do it?
Well, asking questions, I think, is really good. Modeling it yourself. So, you know what? We're adults. I've said to my kids more times than I can remember, I'm human too, and I messed up, right? And so showing your kids that when you take accountability, you are apologizing, recognizing what you did, acknowledging that maybe you hurt someone's feelings. But then you have to try not to do it the next time.
Sure.
You keep doing it, it doesn't really count.
Yeah, it doesn't. They won't internalize it because they'll
Correct.
say she did it once, but then she's not doing it again. Yeah,
she didn't really mean it. So
right.
letting kids experience natural consequences. You know what? Okay, well, you said something mean to your friend, so she's upset.
Sure.
Right? Now what do you do? Not always stepping into rescue. We've talked about that.
We talked about that, yeah.
I mean, obviously, this is all very age dependent too. Depends where your kid is developmentally, and also where your kid is. You know, for I have dealt with a lot with neurodivergencies, and brain develops at a different, is finished developing at a different time. So you have to take all those things into account. But that's why communication is important.
Yeah, it sounds very important.
And I would say like those executive functioning skills come really important always.
Executive functioning skills.
Yeah, just integrating those, which means things like planning, organizing, time management, all of those.
Yeah. So that would be the one trait that immediately makes a young adult stand out to their employers, excuse me.
Absolutely. I think also there's still a lot of weight placed on personality, social, personable, being able to have a conversation.
The soft skills, which we're not using as a term anymore, right? What's our new term for
There's
it?
like 18 different.
18
there's
different terms?
employability skills, there's power skills,
Okay.
there's transferable skills, but for some reason soft skills is out.
Okay, not the one we're using. Got it.
No,
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well,
we're not going to cancel you if you use it.
No, I don't think so. All right, so if we're thinking about college, right? We're away from the workforce, talking about college. How do families think about college differently, or if workforce readiness is their goal?
Okay, so this is really important. Kids are relying, when your kid says, I want to go to this school, you need to say why. Because a lot of them are seeing things on social media, and that's why they want to go to that school.
And it looks fun.
Rock walls? Yeah, I want to go to a school where there's a rock wall. But you know what? If you're doing college right, you actually shouldn't really have that much time to be climbing on a rock wall all the time, right? So asking the right questions, thinking about, is this college going to prepare me for a job? So are there internship opportunities? Is there a career center that's going to help me? And also, look, the reality is college is a good experience no matter what comes out of it, honestly, because you learn to think critically, you learn a lot about yourself, all of those things. So it's not always that the end goal is just get a really good job, but you need to determine why are you going to college, what's important about it, and then find out, does the college you're looking at have that? We need to get away from just thinking about brand names and prestige, and find the best fit college for individuals.
So I like that. You said we need to move away from prestige. So how are those internship opportunities more important than that name on the paper, on the resume, on the diploma?
Well, there is a lot of research coming out that shows that those skill sets are really what employers are looking for, much more than the name of the college. Now, there's still going to be a handful of jobs where it matters where you went to school, but we're talking like small number of school jobs. There was an article in Forbes recently that talked about internships double the odds of getting a good job. So if you do an internship in college, but now we're even like going back to high school, internships, apprenticeships, these work-based learning opportunities are becoming really important at the high school level too, because those are starting to be what sets a student apart in college. Because if you get, because everybody's got a 4.0.
I was to say, those counselors aren't looking at the grades.
Everybody's got I mean, they're looking, but we're test optional for SATs most of the time. So, what do they have to set you apart?
Right.
Okay, you have another 4.0. Yay. All right. Oh, yay. You were in 3 clubs. Okay. So what they want to see is they want to see your passion and commitment. So they want to see that they don't care if you were in 10 clubs, but they all started your junior or senior year, they're on to you. They want to see, even if you just did, because you're just loading your resume out.
Right.
But if you did one thing and you have done that since day one of high school, that is going to look much better for you.
Yeah, the consistency.
The consistency.
And follow through.
Passion, commitment. And then the other thing is, if you passion, commitment, consistency, internships.
Yeah.
And then getting that real world experience. And I always say to my students, all experience is good experience. So stop thinking that it's not okay to work at,
wherever you want.
Panera, whatever. Like, go work there. You are going to learn something that's going to take you on that next step.
I love it. That's awesome. So these students have made it now to college. They got those internships. They took whatever experience, right? We're saying they made it to college. What are most students that are in college because they made it and took your advice? What are they not doing? What are most of them not doing that they should be?
I think the first thing, well, not the first thing. One of the first things is you have to find your people, build your community.
The relationships.
Because it's already, you're away from home, okay? Now you're trying to, you spent all this work in high school, getting into this college, and now you're here and you're going to classes and it's really hard, the work is hard.
Right.
But like, where is that sense of community, finding your people? That to me is really, really important. And that needs to be as important as your academic piece too, if not more for a lot of students, honestly. Because a lot of parents out there will tell you that first semester, they were having to talk their kid off the ledge many times when they were starting in college, because I mean, there was definitely tears flowing, right? And you got to help them to get past that and over the hump. But the sooner that they can find a sense of connection, everybody wants to be connected. Everybody wants a sense of belonging. And so I think that's a really important thing for them to find right from the beginning.
So that leads to success in college. If you find the sense of belonging, you can hopefully
Harvard says that's the key to happiness.
That's right.
Relationships. So
it comes back. All right. So then what mistakes do you see those college students making that are costing them later?
Mistakes when they get into college, you mean, is not focusing on, again, we're still in this academic thing, right? Now, again, I'm not saying don't focus on academics at all. Like, you have to, so the mistakes are that they don't focus on academics also, because they don't necessarily have that skill set coming in to know what they need to put in, the work that it takes, right? So if you're not practicing that in high school, the time management, organization, planning, then when you get to college, when you actually need it, all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh. I give this example sometimes to students, and this is extreme, but it's important. So if you had to give CPR to somebody and you had never taken CPR, would you be prepared to do it at that moment?
No.
No.
Not at all.
No, because you haven't practiced it.
Right, not in any capacity.
So when you need it, and honestly, this is another backstory, but I have actually had to give CPR to someone, okay, whose life was threatened. I instantly, in my head, was singing Staying Alive.
It came back.
Oh, just like that.
Yeah.
I remember my CPR trainer, because I've taken it multiple times as a Girl Scout leader, saying, if you're not breaking ribs, you're not doing it right. And that was all that came into my mind as I was giving CPR to my relative who was, declining very fast. So my point here, that's extreme.
Yeah.
But the point is, we don't learn a skill when we need it.
Right.
We learn it before we need it.
And then we apply it later.
Yes. And in high school, the stakes are low. You can mess up and it's fine. You're not going to lose a job. Your family's not going to lose the house. It's fine, right? So that's the place that when teenagers mess up, we should be happy and like
that they tried.
This is great. Yeah. I have a learning opportunity with you now. But parents we have stressful days. We yell at our kids, whatever.
Yeah.
But
how could you mess up?
Right. Yeah. How did you do that? I've told you 100 times.
Right.
No, guess what? You didn't tell them enough times, or you haven't shown them enough times, or you haven't asked the right questions.
Yeah. It's something to reflect on, something to think about. It makes me think about it as someone who doesn't have kids yet, but it's something to ponder. I'll be listening to this episode quite a lot to think about how I can apply these things.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and that's a big thing, that's a really important skill for all of us, is the ability to reflect.
Yeah.
And as parents, we do it every single day. As a teacher, I have to do it all the time, because the reality is that I'm not perfect and I always have to be improving. And I have a lot on my shoulders to support, and you do too, to support these kids, whether they be your own or borrowed kids.
Yeah.
but also it's just how we become better people.
Yeah. All right, so to close this out, Maisie,
Okay.
I'm going to ask some rapid fire questions.
Do I get a buzzer? Or?
I don't have a buzzer.
Okay, that's
I'm
all right,
sorry.
that's all right. I'll be okay.
But
I'll be
I'd
okay.
like you to answer in a sentence or less for each question.
Oh gosh, that's hard for me.
All
You've
right.
already learned. I'm a talker.
So
Okay.
middle school parents, focus on blank.
Oh my gosh, survival.
Survival.
Survival. Just get your child through middle school.
That's the
it.
right answer, honestly.
Emotional health, emotional well-being.
That is the right answer. High school parents, start doing.
Less.
Doing less.
Doing less.
They're doing too much.
They're doing too much. And again, I'm a recovering too much doer. Yes. We're doing too much.
Okay. College parents, stop doing.
College parents, stop doing. Again, stop doing so much.
Stop doing so much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sit back and enjoy.
Okay.
My friend who's a psychotherapist told me the other day, she's like, isn't it cool that now you get to see your kid be an adult and you can just sit back and be happy
And watch
for them?
it happen, yeah.
Because think about it, if it was your best friend and they were telling you about how they went to this great party and they met somebody and they're doing this, and you'd be like, that's so cool,
Yeah.
right? But we get into parent mode in our head, like, oh, should I be correcting? Should I be telling you that you should be going to bed early? Da 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 da. Nope. That is awesome. That's amazing. I'm glad you had such a good time.
Okay, so they need to just sit back and watch.
Let them grow.
Let it happen. Yeah. Okay. What's one conversation every parent should be having this month? I'll let you pick the age for the kid.
I would say high school, and I would say we need to really work on helping our kids see what their strengths are. Mm-hmm. And really, there's a lot of career development theory about strengths-based approach. And so, how do we help them see what their strengths are? Because if you can embrace that, that will help them with career, college, everything that they do.
Where they want to go.
Yeah, and then, if they want to identify some weaknesses, maybe they want to work on that. Okay, do you want my help? Do you want me to find you a mentor? I have this friend who's really good at that,
Mm-hmm. Or focus on the strengths, yeah. So what's one responsibility every teen needs to own by age 16?
Laundry.
Laundry? They gotta do their laundry. Sure.
Definitely laundry.
That's a great answer. All right, one thing parents need to let go of.
Laundry.
Oh yeah, laundry as well. They do. They need to let go of it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, one trait that matters more in 10 years than their GPA.
I would say like emotional intelligence, being able to take responsibility, reflect, accountability. Is that one? That's four. They're all really tied together.
No,
They're
it's like a braid. It all comes together and makes one strong rope. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, and last question. I need you to finish this sentence. If you want your child to stand out in the workforce, teach them to what?
Oh gosh. Okay.
Stand out.
I want them to stand out. They should be confident, independent. Teach them the skills that are going to help them be successful in the workplace. Have a conversation, eye contact.
That's important, yeah, for sure. Instead of looking down at their phone when they're talking.
I say that, but also I recognize that there are a lot of folks, neurodivergencies. Sometimes the eye contact is hard, but it's all of those skills that we think of that are transferable, that will be good no matter what job you go into.
Yeah,
so
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Maisie, for being a part of the Ascended Workplace today. It was incredible. I absolutely loved being a part of this episode with you today.
It was fun. I really enjoyed it too. I love talking.
I'm glad. I hope we can have you back too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we definitely set that up.
Yeah.
So Maisie, if you want to tell the listeners a little bit about what's going on with you, where they can find you, where they can reach you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm getting ready to launch a college application course in a couple of weeks. So take a look at that, but that's all going to be on my website. So it's forwardreadyu, the letter U.com. And check me out there. And I'm on LinkedIn too. So
all right. So everyone will be checking you out, Maisie. It's a great time having you here. Thank you so much for being part of the Ascended Workplace. My name is Adam. I'm with Ascended Consulting. You can find us at ascended-consulting.com. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.